Hi, it's Scott Vogel on sex addiction. In this 6-minute video, I'm going to share with you 7 methods to help sex addicts. If you work with patients, clients, or anyone struggling with sex addiction, or if you're dealing with those people who have obsessive compulsive sexual behaviors, you've probably realized working with sex addicts can be difficult, awkward, and sometimes challenging. The following 7 methods will help you treat these sex addicts more effectively, help them get into recovery, and increase the effectiveness of their treatment. The first method is to help them identify and locate primary support systems. Whether it's a clergy, whether it's a 12-step sponsor or fellow, or their best friend from high school, helping the client to identify their strongest and most trusted support team is vitally important. You see, sex addicts as a whole feel they're alone, no matter what. So identifying this support system will allow them to understand that they can not only ask for help, but receive help from others. Method 2 is to identify questionable influences. The client may have a certain group of friends or buddies that make jokes about their behavior, or they may have enabling family members or friends that keep them in their addiction. Helping the client to identify the people who don't have a great influence on them can be a vital step in cutting down the active addictions, acting out behaviors. The client doesn't have to cut these people out of their lives completely. They just need to find the strength to tell these people they're not helping and they're not allowing them to modify their behaviors. Method 3 is for you to talk openly about sex and to actually listen openly about sex with the client or the patient. Don't fear the topic. Talking about sex can be incredibly awkward for some therapists, especially if the client themselves are vastly experienced and not ashamed to talk about their sexual history, their acting out behaviors. It may feel wrong or dirty, but the shame involved for the sex addict is huge. You see, the root of the addiction is their sexual behaviors, their sexual desires, their lust, their sometimes deviant and perverse thoughts, ideas, and fantasies. And they have to get those thoughts and feelings out in a way that's not shameful to them. They're really unlikely to divulge these experiences or thoughts or feelings with their friends, coworkers, family, or significant others. You don't have to reply to their experiences, and you don't even have to identify with them. What is important is that you let them talk and try and keep any awkwardness to a minimum. Method 4 is to encourage abstinence. And by abstinence, we're talking about no sex. Now, this is just temporary. To expect a person to remain absent forever is somewhat ridiculous, but encouraging a period of abstinence in conjunction with treatment is very important and very helpful. This time of zero sexual activity will actually help the addict to realize that although sex is really nice, they can live without it, even though it might be a little bit uncomfortable. This abstinence period will also allow the addict to find other ways to cope with their feelings, their thoughts, and their urges, mainly through what are called outer circle activities. Activities like reading and exercise and painting, or any other type of hobby that they can use to shift their focus from their addiction. Method 5 is to provide sexual education. Everyone is supposed to receive sex education at some point in their school lives. Many sex addicts are likely to have either forgotten this entirely, ignored what they have learned, or what they learned was incorrect to begin with. So they need to relearn these healthy, normal sexual behaviors. Bringing the message of sexual education to them in a way that's best suited for them is imperative to help them overcome their behaviors. They need to also understand what healthy sex is in contrast to what unhealthy sexual behaviors are. Sex education should also talk about diseases, STDs, STIs, as well as safe sex and more importantly, appropriate partner intimacy. Method 6 is to encourage therapy in regards to family and marital. Not everyone is legally able to provide this kind of therapy, but encouraging some kind of dynamic that includes marital or family therapy will help eliminate a lot of the lies and excuses that the sex addict is used to living with. This type of therapy, as you know, will help the sex addict to build or rebuild relationships that they probably destroyed as a result of their addiction. Honesty is the best policy, and although it's going to hurt sometimes, getting it all out can help the rebuilding process go much, much smoother. It's kind of like building a new house. You wouldn't want to do it on an old crumbling foundation. So a person struggling with sex addiction, they need to make their own new foundation before they start rebuilding the relationships with others. And method 7 is to eliminate excuses and lies. Fact: sex addicts lie. They have to. They have to lie to protect their acting out, their sexual behaviors, their shame, and their guilt. They need to keep it secret. If you really want to help the sex addict, allow them to be totally and completely honest, and don't allow them to bring their excuses and lies into your sessions. Doesn't mean you have to be harsh with them. Rather, you should be compassionate, understanding, and empathetic, yet firm in not allowing those excuses and lies to affect your work with that particular patient. In review, the 7 methods to help sex addicts. First is to locate a primary support system by helping them create a trusted support system that they can rely on. Second method is to identify the questionable influences and really eliminate or control the bad influences in their lives. The third method is to talk openly about sex, and don't fear talking about sex. Create a non-shaming atmosphere for your patients and clients. Method 4 is to encourage abstinence, a temporary period of no sex at all so they can become comfortable with themselves. Method 5 is to provide sex education. Help the addict to learn healthy human sexual behaviors, attitudes, and how to function as a healthy sexual being. Method 6 is to encourage therapy. Family and marital therapy will help rebuild broken relationships. And method 7 is to eliminate excuses and lies, and keep the excuses and lies from your sessions so that the addict learns to be completely honest with you and bring it to other areas of their lives. Visit our YouTube channel at On Sex Addiction for more videos about sex addiction, recovery from sex addiction, and help with sex addiction. Also go to www.onsexaddiction.com where I've prepared a free video explaining what sex addiction is and more information about sex addiction and sex addiction recovery.